Welcome back, everybody. It's time for the review. As you may know, there are a lot of benefits to this deal, but there are some concerns too. One of the obvious concerns being the selling of Israeli weapons. You may have heard that there is an ongoing conflict happening in Yemen right now. Really tragic, really sad. Lots of people are unfortunately losing their lives as well as their homes and just their livelihoods in general. There are some Israeli firms that may have an interest in selling weapons in that conflict. As well as this, Israel also has an interest in keeping Iran in check.
Keep in check.
Of course, one thing that complicates this whole issue is the fact that the UAE actually has business ties with Iran, including political ties. But the irony of this being that the UAE and Iran are both backing opposite sides in the ongoing Yemeni conflict.
And I'd like to add that Palestinians are really worried if they're going to be left hanging or not. So Israel did not promise to simply forego the annexation in the West Bank.
Leave hanging.
So this implies that the annexation will one day proceed. And by that time, many worry that the relationship and ties with the UAE will be too strong or strongly cemented to actually unravel.
Unravel.
Are you aware of any kind of business relations or ties between the UAE and the UK?
There's not any that I know of off the top of my head. I know that we have good relationships with Dubai and some other nations, but I'm not too sure. My knowledge on that isn't too great. I've been to Dubai and I've noticed a lot of British expatriates out there myself. I've talked to a few people working out there, and it seems like we do have good relationships when it comes to actually working and granting visas.
What about the UK's relationship with Iran?
So also my knowledge on this isn't too great, but I know that our relationship with Iran isn't too good. There's a lot of Western countries that don't have a particularly great relationship with Iran, but I'm curious, what do you know about this?
So I know that back in the 1950s, Iran had a democratically elected prime minister called Mossadegh, who was removed in a Western-backed coup in favor of repositioning the Shah of Iran as the de facto leader of the nation, which unfortunately led to the 1979 Islamic Revolution. So as a result of that coup, we have I don't know if you'd say blood on our hands, but we certainly have political blood on our hands in that context. And I don't think this history is lost on modern Iranians. But what I do know is a lot of young Iranians are actually very pro-West, and they enjoy listening to Black Sabbath and a lot, well, maybe not these days, but they, like a lot of young Iranians, want better relationships with Western countries. And everybody I've spoken to who has visited Iran says it is an amazing place and that Iranian people are the friendliest people on the planet, like literally inviting you into their homes for dinner and that kind of thing. So even with all this political tension, and I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, Iran is definitely a country I would love to visit someday. Absolutely, one at the top of my list.
Nice. Yeah.
All right, well, that is it for today's unit. We will see you back here for Unit 18. Take care.